My name is Fienhold Sheen. I'm an independent consultant, and I'd like to talk today about contributing to the toolkit via GitHub. So this is something that has changed since the DITA-OT toolkit moved its development platform from SourceForge to GitHub. It has become much easier to contribute changes to the DITA-OT toolkit. So in the past, people were used to contributing bugs and change requests and asking someone else to fix that problem. And that's still the way a lot of things work, but there are some things that people can fix themselves, and GitHub really helps to facilitate that. So I'd like to talk about that for just a couple of minutes today to encourage us all to make Jarno's life a little bit easier. And rather than telling him what to do, perhaps in the cases where we're capable of doing it, we can maybe even do it ourselves. So I'm going to switch now from some prepared slides that explain the steps, we can provide those later, to what was supposed to be a live presentation of doing something on GitHub, but I got a little nervous about our network connection. So what I'm going to do now is display a screencast of that process that I created last night when the network connection was quite reliable. So let's switch now to that. I'm going to talk about forking the repository, creating a new branch, changing files, and submitting a pull request. And just to manage expectations here, this is a lightning talk. I have only a few moments. I'm not going to talk about really arcane XSLT changes. To be fair, I'm going to change a single character in a single file. So this is just to explain the process. You can do the same thing with a very complicated change if you like. But for the purpose of this talk, I'm going to make a very simple example. Okay, so here we are on the GitHub website. And we will begin our process by signing into GitHub. So if we already have an account, it's just a matter of entering our credentials. If you don't have credentials, you'll need to create an account. But since I have, I'm just signing in. We land on a landing page here. GitHub takes us to a dashboard that shows us some of the recent changes in the repositories that we work on and links to the repositories. So I switch now to the DITA-OT Toolkit organization and the repository called DITA-OT Toolkit that shows us the files that are included in the toolkit. Today I want to make changes not to the toolkit itself, but to the documentation. And we just recently decided over the last couple of days to split that into a separate repository. So I'm going to switch now to the DITA-OT Toolkit docs repository. This shows us the contents of the documentation for the DITA-OT Toolkit project.
Not down the louder. Not that louder because it gets too much echo on the online.
Okay.
Yes.
Can we turn down the volume on the mic somehow?
Probably.
Okay. So just selected my account. I've created a fork by clicking the fork button up top. GitHub creates a copy of the repository. So now we're at infotexture docs. That's my account, not the DITA-OT version of that. We're going to create a new branch. So we go to the branch selector here. We begin typing the name of a branch that we would like to switch to. If that branch does not exist, it will be created. So I'm creating a new branch here called feature.fix. The repository is switched to display the contents of this branch. And now we will begin to search for a file within that list of files that belong to the toolkit documentation. So what's going on here? Something strange is happening with the screen. Oh, thank you very much. Sorry about that, people. It's an automated process on my computer that has jumped in. I apologize. So here that's a little time lag there. Let me pause this. So, okay. So when we are in this view of the files in the repository, you type the letter T, and GitHub will begin to filter the list of files that are in the repository. And as you type, it will begin to complete the the file names, and show you a list of file names that contain that string that you've entered. And while I was preparing this, I discovered a little typo that I wanted to fix in a file called globalization support. So I began typing globalization up top, and it shows me the list of files that contain that character. And once I've selected in the list the file that I would like to change, the file contents are displayed. So this is a read-only view at the moment, showing me the contents of the file. There's an edit button up here at the top, a little pencil icon. And when we go and click that pencil icon, this display changes to an editable version of the file where we can actually go in and revise the contents of the file. So now, in looking at this, I discovered that the word chapter here has a quote in front, but none at the back. So we were missing a quote there. It's very difficult to see at the screen resolution, but I've just added that quote to the file to fix those closing quotes. Scroll down to the bottom of the page, and GitHub provides an opportunity for us to enter a message about the changes that we've made. So I'm going to say that I added a missing quote here, and then go to this little green button down at the bottom that says commit changes, and my changes to this file will be saved to GitHub. So this is being saved in my copy of the repository. It's not live, it's not in the official DITA-Open Toolkit documentation yet. It's just in my copy. And when I go back to the root level of my copy of the repository, it shows me that I recently pushed branches. So I've changed a file in my feature quote fix branch, and I submit the pull request by pressing the big green button there. And GitHub takes me to a screen that allows me to provide some more context for the changes I've made. It starts with my commit message, but I can add a little description here saying I'm closing quotation marks around the word chapter in the globalization support topic. And that gives the project owners a little bit more context. I can send them a little message that way so that they know what it is I've changed and why. And as I scroll down the screen here, GitHub provides a summary of the changes I've made, showing a diff, saying this is the old line in red here with the word chapter missing its trailing quote. The green version highlights the quote. And I know those are the changes I want to make. GitHub says here that these changes can be merged by the project owners. And so when I click the Create Pull Request button, a message will be sent to the project owners that there's a new change that someone has requested that they can review and decide whether they would like to incorporate this change. So then I'm taken to this view here where it shows the pull request. Now in this particular case, I have the authority to merge this myself, so this appears here. It wouldn't appear if you were not one of the project contributors at this point, but the pull request page is still the same. It provides that summary, and this is what the project owners then see when you submit your pull request. So the project owner will then take a look at this, review the code changes, they can see that same diff view that we saw, and when they're ready to accept it, they click this button to accept it. They can comment on it if they like, press the button, the pull request is merged, and now we're returned to that page that says that this pull request has been merged, the status has changed up at the top to merged, and we get a banner here saying that this pull request has been successfully merged and also closed. And so if we want, we don't even need the branch in our local fork anymore. And so as a matter of housekeeping, we could choose to delete that branch from our local fork so that it doesn't get in our way in the future. And so that's what we'll do now. We'll just, to complete the process, go over here to this little banner, delete the branch, and GitHub will let us know that the branch has been removed from the local fork. And just in case you clicked that in error and didn't mean to, there's a little button that allows us to restore the branch for a little while. I don't remember what the timeout is, but for a few minutes you have a chance to recognize if you didn't want to do that. That's it. Our branch has been deleted. The pull request is complete. When we look at the list of pull requests here for the repository, none of them are open at the moment. It says up at the top that our branch has been removed, so that banner goes away. And we can switch now to the view of pull requests that have been closed, and we see our add missing quote pull request is on the list of changes that have already been incorporated into the project documentation. So that means that the next time the deliverables for the project documentation are built and included into a toolkit release, that missing quote won't be missing anymore in our PDF or HTML output. So that was a very simple example. You could do something very tricky with XSLT or something else if you were to change another file, but that illustrates the process of changing code in your browser alone. You don't need necessarily a Git client or an XML editor to do this if it's just a simple change that you'd like to make. And we encourage you to do this because we'd like to get more people involved. Lots of people are reading the documentation, seeing issues and things like that. And sometimes it takes more time to describe the problem than to actually fix it yourselves. So if you have one of those cases, we encourage you to contribute in this way. But of course, to be realistic, many of the changes that need to be made in the toolkit cannot be made in the browser in this very simplistic way. But I just wanted to encourage you to do so if you like. So that's it for my part. Questions?
Yeah, just one question. If you want to reject the change,
yes.
then do I get a message? And
yeah, Chris has asked what happens if the project owners are not happy with the changes that have been submitted. Will they be rejected? Will questions be asked? This pull request page that we saw a little while back here provides opportunity for a discussion. And that's one of the things that GitHub is well known for, is this ability to have discussions around code changes. Okay. So let me go back here a little bit. Here is, let's see, that's not the page we need to see to illustrate that. Just a little bit further. Anyhow, in this overview, there's a thing here called, I'm sorry, jumping around, comments. So the project owners may add comments saying, you've done a really nice job, but you made the change on line 1, and that same change needs to be made on line 7. Please make it there as well, and when you've done that, I will merge your changes in. So that kind of discussion happens there. You get notified via your GitHub account. If you're not sitting in front of your browser at that moment, depending upon your notification settings, you may get an email or something like that. And those changes can go back and forth. Something that's also important to know is that if you make a change like this and submit a pull request and you're requested to make more changes, you can add additional commits to an existing pull request. So later on, you can actually make more changes if you realize that further work is necessary on this. And that's a very typical process. So pull requests are not something that need to be just there for 5 minutes and then gone like they were in this case. There are some long-running pull requests that have been open for months. So I'm well over my time, so I'll stop.
Thank you.